Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Phil Games, and welcome to the final video for Glitch Month. I mean, besides the AMV thing that I've been talking about that's going to be on my second channel, Phil Actually Games, link to that in the description and probably in the end card. I feel like I've been hyping this thing up a lot. Like, it's nothing super special. It's not even, like, actually animated. It's just I mean, it is animated, but it's a bunch of clips from the actual show just edited together to a song. Anyway, um, you can still watch that. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, don't want to make my intros too long, because that tends to happen. So, we are here today with our definitive, or my definitive, Glitchtale episode tier list. Whoops, future Phil here. I forgot to mention that, for those of you who know about the whole monetization thing that was happening on my channel, the issue has been resolved. Just wanted to let you guys know that, at least for now it has. Hopefully it doesn't come back again. But yeah, thank you guys for sticking with me through that, and hopefully this will motivate me to be more active on my channel. So yeah, on with the video. And here we have the same tier list as in the soundtracks video. You can tell because of Yet Darker's thumbnail here. And once again, just like in that video, we are going to go in order. So let's start with Megalomaniac. So, I do like this episode a lot, but I feel like, do I put it in A? I'll stick it here for now, because, like, obviously it's really good, otherwise it would not have blown up as much as it did, and spawned an entire giant awesome series. Really, it's this anniversary that we're celebrating here in a few days. It's the way that it starts out just as an animated Sans fight, basically, but then it weaves in that creative distinction between Frisk and Kara and their mindsets in this, or at least Cammy's interpretation of it. But then, obviously, the thing that really makes this episode is the ending. The surprise ending when Frisk... Yeah, you all know what happens, but it's just very cool. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm not really incorporating animation quality into into my analysis of this because, you know, just to level the playing field a little bit. Actually, in Megalomaniac, the animation, I don't know what you call it, like the planning or whatever, is really good. How a bunch of things happen to the beat of the song and everything. It's just really good, but we're putting it in B for now because this is all relative. All of Glitchtale is good, like I've said before. And again, could move around. We will see. Now, Yet Darker. You know, for now, I'm gonna put Yet Darker in D. As you can see, there is no F tier, and again, this is all relative. Yet Darker is still good, it's still fun to watch, but it is probably my personal least favorite Glitchtale episode. Just, like, the fight scenes are really cool, and having Gaster there is cool. Well, I guess the novelty of having Gaster there has kind of worn off a little bit with time. But the real reason it's my least favorite is because it just kind of feels like it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of just there. Like, you have the first big glitchy reset at the end of Megalomaniac, and then you just have another one at the end of Yet Darker, and then after that there are no more resets. Yeah, it just feels like it's just there in terms of story. It's there, it has a cool fight, introduces Gaster and his powers, kind of. But then after that it's just reset, and Gaster, I think, even forgets that it happens, so it's honestly not that important to the overall story at all. So that is why it is in D, at least for now. Now we've got Determination. Fight scenes in this are, or I guess it's really only one fight scene, but it is really good. Would I put it on par with Megalomaniac? Probably. I have the feeling that this is going to be all switched around by the end of this. Maybe not all, but a lot of it. Yeah, sure. Let's say there for now. It introduces Flowey, which is cool, but there are kind of a lot of inconsistencies with that. Like, how does Flowey see? Like, how does he recognize Kara as being the one who was actually controlling Frisk, and how does he recognize that they're actually separate? Because he doesn't normally see that until the end of the True Pacifist route, and like, how does Flowey even know Frisk's name? But obviously that can all be explained away through glitches. Still, it does feel a little bit sloppy. So, but the fight's really cool. Does it go? No, we'll keep it there. Yep. Your Best Friend also has a very good fight scene and a very cool ending. I do like the way it ends, like I mentioned in the soundtrack video. The kind of big downside for this one is that, well, I guess one thing is that it doesn't explain super well what the things that Kara absorbs are. Oh, hi Nyx. Please go away, I'm making a video. How it's like the determination from the other souls. And also, I said I wasn't going to mention the animation quality, but Omega Flowey's design is not as intimidating as it should have been. So, but is it still? I think, yeah, let's do that for now. We'll see if I keep that. Continue. Continue's really good. It's at least on par with Megalomaniac, for sure. It's got that awesome fight scene between Kara and Azriel, the fact that Azriel's there at all and he gets to stay there, and the emotional ending for Kara. But I think there's going to need to be a lot more room up here for A tier, so let's do it like this for now. I mean, what else were you expecting but for most of Season 1 to be here, to be towards the bottom, lower than, yeah, anyway. Continuing on, that accidental pun. I think the phrase is no pun intended, Phil. You learn words and phrases. Alrighty then, moving on to Season 2 with My Sunshine. It is a very good introduction to the world of the surface. I still kind of have a lot of questions about the AMD and how all of the governing works there and stuff, but that's let's not think too hard about that. Also, the way it ends with it revealing that Jessica's daughter was one of the children that Asgore killed, it's just really good. I do like that a lot. So does that put it in A, or is it, just looking at all the other ones, I think it makes more sense to put it in B with these two. Yep, we'll put it in B for now. Dust is once again not a whole lot of action. You have a few cool things that Sans does, like holding up those cross beams and getting super mad at Frisk and everything, and, you know, dying. And obviously we have the big reveal of Betty as the antagonist, but also, unfortunately, Dust happens to be the source of, not the biggest, but one of the biggest confusions in the series, and that is about the fact that Fear is not actually pink. Fear is supposed to be dark orange, and pink just is the Bête Noire, which is a completely different thing. But the way the episode says it, it definitely makes it seem like Fear is pink. So does that leave it in B tier? I think it leaves it in B, not just because of that, but just because there's less action and because we need room for things in A tier, I think. Oh, I didn't expect us to just be, like, climbing up the tier list this much. I guess there was a little bit of mix-up in Season 1, but, we have Do or Die now, and that is definitely A tier. You've got the first big fight scenes of Season 2. You've got the first fight when they fight the blobs, which is cool because of the soundtrack. I'm not gonna sing it again. It's not happening. If you saw that after clip. I forgot for a second that I made that an after clip. And then you have the big Gaster versus Betty fight, which is awesome. and the soundtracks that go with that are also awesome. And you do have Alfie's I don't know, her death at the end, which it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, I did mention in the character tier list that she is my least favorite of the main cast in Undertale, but still kind of unfortunate for her to die in the same episode that she kind of actually first gets the spotlight in. Oh, and also the whole issue with the nullifier just being a weird story element. But I think the fight scenes still keep it in A tier, definitely. Love Part 1, also for sure A tier. Yeah, you've got the Undyne fight at the beginning, which is amazing. All the fight scenes are so good. And also, I think this is a good thing because it's doing what it's trying to do, but this episode makes me very much dislike Frisk, which is, it's supposed to though. I remember the third time I was watching through the series, which is the time that I like really started to get into it. I went to bed after watching this episode, and I was feeling like, it just felt not good. I was like, depressing. Frisk, why? Please stop. Speaking of the things I remember from my first few times watching it, I think the line, "At least Flowey wasn't such a coward," is like one of the only specific parts I remember from the first time I watched it. All the rest of it just went straight out of my head. I am having trouble thinking of what else happens, which is part of what's keeping it out of S tier, but oh, duh, of course. I mentioned this in the character tier list, but now let me show you what true fire— Shut up, phone. You're interrupting me talking about this joke. Okay, the moment's passed. The thing with Asgore, it's funny, and that's in this episode. And then Love Part 2. You all know where this is going. Boom, straight into S tier. This is probably still my favorite episode in the entire series. So, it's 100% S tier. You've got the amazing soundtracks that we mentioned in the soundtrack tier list video. That whole end fight scene is just brilliant in almost every way, except for the fact that it's not previously established that the Hate had the power to bring back monsters, so you kind of might not realize that it's Sans at first, or that you might realize that it's Sans, but you might not realize that it's, like, actually Sans, just corrupted with hate. You might think it's, like, a fake puppet or something. And also the fact that when Sans opens his eye, it's not his left eye. Why? Why? I don't understand. That's the most iconic thing, and he opens the eye. It's a small thing. It's very nitpicky, but it does bother me a little bit. But yeah, just the whole ending part, the ending too, like just having it end and go into the credits with Glimpse of Light, just being like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, this also, in words, this episode also has tons of other things. Like, it has the brilliant Asriel Flowey conversation. That is, it's so good. It's so good. And also with that, obviously, comes the setup for the whole time travel thing that Kara did. I guess also with that comes the confusion of this having been all taking place in the second timeline the whole time. Which, yeah, that confuses a lot of people. Also, I believe this episode is where Ronan gets introduced, or is it Love Part 1? I don't know, but it wouldn't move things around either way, but he is one of my favorite characters for sure, so that's definitely cool. So yeah, Love Part 2, phenomenal episode, absolutely S tier. Oh boy, I'm not just gonna be dumping everything the rest of the season in S tier, am I? I don't know. The main parts of this one, obviously, are the one fight scene and the amazing ending. The fight scene does feel kind of a little random. It's really good in that, first of all, amazing soundtrack, and the art is very good, but we're not comparing the art and stuff, but I mean, like, that one shot of Betty doing the thing, the completely pointless but cool looking thing, gives me chills every time. And also that fight does a really good job in establishing how Azriel has good reason to hate both Asgore and Toriel, and I guess shows Frisk why he does really need Kara at that point. I mean, besides the fact that he needs to get out of that timeline, otherwise it would erase itself. But it does feel kind of like a random fight scene that just happens. Like, it happens, then they go their separate ways, just having learned some new information, which I guess is something. Oh, but that ending. Does that ending put it in S tier? I think it does. Yeah, it's S tier. Game Over Part 1 is that A or B tier? Because I guess it's more comparable with these in that it has, like, a few really interesting parts, but not a whole lot of action. Yeah, I think it's most comparable to My Sunshine and Dust in that way. Obviously, the scene at the beginning is very cool, with the whole explaining the timeline, what happened in Timeline 1, except kind of the problem with putting it right after the transfer, or right after the replacement of Frisk with Kara, is that people get confused and be like, oh, so they try to associate the two things, the timeline changes with the replacement, which is just not the case. They're not connected at all, basically, besides the fact that Kara had to be there to do it. Yeah, I think B tier. B tier is good. Comparing it with these other ones, yeah, I'd say B tier works. Game Over Part 2. That's S tier. I mean, it has so many cool fight scenes. It puts a literal spotlight on Mettaton, or literal, not literal, but a figurative spot. Or I don't have to say, but the point I'm trying to make a connection between Mettaton and the word spotlight, but I'm trying to do it on the fly as I'm thinking of words, and my brain doesn't work that fast, so, you know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. But yeah, Mettaton is kind of just in this episode, and then he's disappeared. Who knows, he might show up in the next episode, hope. I'm not holding out for that, but we'll see. Might happen. And it's not just Mettaton fighting, it's Mettaton Nia, which is an extra added bonus. Just stop trying to word anymore. Then you got the Papyrus fight, which is awesome. And then the whole A Bigger Fear sequence, which ends in Jessica's death, which, probably aside from Frisk, is the most well done death scene in the series. Which is kind of saying something, because there are a lot of those. Yeah, it's just so good. The way she's like, is it going to be Gaster or is it going to be Jessica? It makes it seem like it's Gaster, but then it ends up being Jessica, and then her hair and stuff. Yeah, it's very good. Oh, it also gave Rave a lot more character, which is very cool. He was, having been introduced in the previous episode, I kind of forgot to mention him, but he was just like a complete jerk in the other one, and then I mean, it is a bit of a 180, but also a kind of understandable 180 that happens there. But still, yeah, Rave is cool. And this episode was really when we first started to see that. I think that's most of the major stuff that happens. I mean, there is the very beginning of Kara's confrontation with Betty and Azriel, which is cool, but not super. His entrance is definitely awesome. Yeah, S tier. The point is, it's definitely an S tier episode. Hate. Where are we gonna put you? A or S? It's definitely one of those. For those of you who don't know, Hate and Animosity were originally planned to be one episode, a part 1 and a part 2, but then Kami decided to actually give Hate its own name and stuff for reasons. But anyway, the first several times I watched it, maybe even until Animosity came out, it kinda did feel like half an episode. Just with the way it ended, kind of on a cliffhanger. and also the fact that no one actually died, which is the first full episode that's happened in since My Sunshine. But the fight scene's so good. The Dreamers United fight scene. And also the one before that, when Kara is separating Asriel from Betty. I kind of want to say A tier, but that fight is just so good, and the way the way she portrays Toriel's fear, it's so cool. I think still A tier, just because it's mainly just those, well, the one bigger fight scene and the one smaller one, and then the rest of it is more set up for animosity. Yeah, it definitely high A tier just because of how good the fight scene is, but it is A tier. Now we have animosity. Oh boy, I feel like people are going to get mad at me for even considering the fact that it might not be S tier. It's definitely S or A. I was actually, before making this video, I was debating with myself a lot whether to put it in A or S. Again, in some way, it does feel like half an episode in a way, but it's a little more hard to define in what way that is than Hate was. I don't know. Maybe it's almost like too action-packed? I don't know. That doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is. But that's not the only reason that I might not put it in S tier. The other big reason is because it kind of feels like killing Betty this early almost robbed us of a actual Kara versus Betty fight. I guess robbed isn't the right word, because Cammy doesn't owe us anything in her storytelling. It's completely her choice to do what she wants with this. But still, it felt a little anticlimactic with it building up like only Kara, or I guess only Frisk could do this, and then becoming only Kara can kill Betty. But like, I get how Gaster did it. It just feels weird that they never mentioned that it was even a slight possibility that he would be able to do it before now, or at least alluded to it in some way. Like being like, oh yeah, I have determination abilities too because of my chroma magic. Which it doesn't really do so well at explaining what the chroma magic is, but I guess it is visual, kind of, like how he destroys the blob in Do or Die and stuff. I don't know, is it? Yeah. This hasn't really helped me at all. Is that enough to keep it out of S tier? Because the fight scenes are really good. They are very good. You know what? It has to be. It still has to be S tier. I think it really does. Like I mentioned in the soundtrack video again, you've got Embodiment of a True Hero, I've Come This Far, and Ascended. All of the scenes that those are with are just so cool. Yeah, yep. Animosity is S tier. I think still the fact that I still feel kind of weird about Betty dying in this episode would put it in like low S tier territory. Just because, like, I mentioned this in the character video, but Betty was the one that they all actually wanted revenge on, and now Hate just feels like an obstacle that they need to get past. And I'm sure it's going to be really cool how they do that fight, and apparently Ronan is going to get involved in that, which Cammy teased that with, I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but the picture of what I now know to be some sort of Hate illusion of Ronan's wife, Zoe. I don't know what that's all about or how the other characters are going to play into this, because at the end of Animosity, it felt like it was setting up for like just Kara versus Hate, but that would obviously be a super boring episode. But now we're talking about the future episodes that haven't come out yet, and I have no idea where that's gonna be, but yeah, there you have it. There it is. my definitive Glitchtale episode tier list. It does feel a little weird having these in C tier, but like it's all relative. Again, they're all good, and I like them all. But there it was, guys. There was Glitch Month, and Glitchtale's 5th anniversary is happening in a few days now, which is crazy, and it's so cool to see how far this series has come. I mean, I joined a little late, but just looking back at everything, and especially in the animation quality, you can tell that there's 5 years of difference and of practice there, which is part of what makes it so fun to watch all the way through this series over and over again. So thank you to Cami. Huge thanks for making this super cool series, for sticking it out for this long. I don't know if you anticipated Season 2 taking as long as it has, but wow, you have way more determination than I do. So stay determined. You're almost at the end of Season 2. I don't know how close you are or anything, but I will wait however long it takes, and I will be content. Whether I'm content with the actual ending is another question, but hopefully, I trust that this will be good. Yeah, I'll get into that maybe some other time. And also, obviously, thank you to everyone else who makes all these episodes possible. Nyx the Shield and Strelok doing all the sound stuff, the voices and the or not the voices, all the other voice actors. That's super cool too. I was trying to say before, the soundtracks and the sound effects. There we go. And like I said, all the voice actors, and even like all the people who support Cami on Patreon. That's really cool. I kind of wish I could, because I would. But yeah, just thank you to all of you for making this super cool series possible, and like, not to mention that it's what got me an actual audience on YouTube, which is crazy in and of itself. But I just like stories that are good and that get my adrenaline flowing and get the emotions going, which is what this series does, and it does it very well. So that's all I've got to say. There are links in the description. I've mentioned them. I mentioned one earlier in this video, and the others in the other videos. My Twitter, my Discord server, it's all down there. Go check out my second channel if you want to see that AMV when it drops right on the 28th. And yeah, happy 5th anniversary, Glitchtale, and here's to 5 more years if Cami wants to keep doing it that long. Bye!